How do you feel Governor Richardson ended up changing his mind? He said it was the most difficult decision of his political life. You all went together to Rome, so I assume you had many conversations together. He has resisted this for all of the time that he has been in office, for all the time that you have introduced this bill.
I think the hardest thing for him was that when he was in Congress, he had supported the death penalty, and he felt that he needed to be consistent with that position. What I reminded him is that when he was in Congress, we didn't have 130 exonerees, now 131. I think that was a very compelling reason for him. Another thing that has emerged over the years, and frankly, we have been meeting with him ever since his first election here in New Mexico as governor. We hadn't met with him. The movement was not underway when he was serving in Congress. But we had met with him, and we continued to supply him with information. We have had a number of really prominent people meet with him, including Sister Helen Prejean, including the exonerees, as every year he heard more and more and has become very conversant in the death penalty, about the abolition of the death penalty. After it passed the House of Representatives this year, he made a statement saying, if anyone thinks that I am going to try to keep it from coming to my desk, I won't do that. That should not inform your decision as to how you're going to vote for it in the Senate. However, he didn't promise to sign the bill if it came to him. In that process, he took so much public input. In fact, after the Senate passed the bill, he invited emails, calls, letters, visits from the public, and his office kept a tally of it. There were nearly 12,000 New Mexicans, maybe there were people from outside of the state, but from New Mexico, who either met with him, emailed him, called, or wrote a letter, and 74% of them supported his signing the bill, which is even higher than our polling data shows.
Vicki Oakey, was there anyone on New Mexico's death row?
Currently, we have 2 people on New Mexico's death row.
What happens to them?
In New Mexico, our legislation cannot be retroactive. We cannot get them off death row. This bill goes into effect in July. And so currently, this bill does not affect them or anyone who is facing the death penalty in New Mexico.
So they will be executed unless they are exonerated or unless the governor commutes their sentence.
Right, absolutely. And I think that that's something that's very interesting to see if people will be interested in executing people now that we have abolished the death penalty in New Mexico. I find it hard to believe that there's going to be the support for that. Our polling data from the best pollsters in New Mexico, Research and Polling, Inc., showed that 64% of New Mexicans supported repealing the death penalty, replacing it with life without parole, and providing that restitution to victims' families. So I just don't think that there's the support there. The 2 gentlemen on New Mexico's death row right now have got quite a few more years of appeals to go through. So that is something that we will be watching and waiting.
And has the governor said anything to you about commuting their sentences?
Currently, he has said that he will not commute those sentences.
Even though he's opposed to the death penalty?
Even though he's opposed to the death penalty. He said last week that he felt that the justice process had gone through with those particular cases and that they had been through the courts, and he wanted to leave it up to the courts to make the decision on that.
Last question, Vicki Oakey, why you yourself got involved with this issue, and then what are your plans now that you have won this victory of getting the death penalty abolished in New Mexico?
For me, abolishing the death penalty was a personal moral issue. I just felt that we just don't teach people that killing people is wrong by killing other people. And for me now, we've still got some victims' bills to get passed. We have plenty of support in the legislature for those bills. We just ran out of time. We don't have very long sessions in New Mexico. So we'll work to get those victims' bills passed in the next session.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being with us here at KNME, PBS, and Albuquerque. Gail Chasey, state rep, who has championed this bill for a decade, New Mexico Democratic state representative from here in Albuquerque, and Vicki Oakey, the executive director of the New Mexico Coalition to Repeal the Death Penalty. They just came back from Rome, where